It's a beautiful and a bright new day. It's wonderful to have you join us on this installment of Morning Spring and Western Spring Television. It is the second installment for the week. My name is Timitope Ajijololuwola. You know what we do for you here is to keep you abreast of things happening around you and bring you some of the headlines right there on some of the faces. Some of the dailies right there in Nigeria. And my name is Timitope Ajijololuwola. Welcome aboard today.
All right, Femi Ojo is my name, and you're welcome. It's a great pleasure to know that you are there, looking through the headlines of various dailies, the front pages, and of course, getting to talk about the issues that we're here 7 a.m. every weekday. We are here to do First Start. And also, we're on YouTube and on Facebook at Western Spring Television. And on YouTube at Western Spring Television, NJ. Channel 190 at StarTimes DTT is where we are on StarTimes. This is us getting ready. If you are ready, we are ready as well. A range of things to talk about. The focus of protest as National Assembly over, a push for constitutional backing for mandatory transmission of election results in Nigeria. Civil society organizations, we talked on this yesterday. P2B joined the protest at the National Assembly and some of his obedient movement and all of those things. We're going to continue the conversation today and also to talk about issues that has to do with judiciary integrity, some concerns about the rank of the senior advocate of Nigeria and why some are saying, let's do better. It seems people, the legal minds are only talking and taking advantage of the privileges alone without the responsibility. A few days or weeks ago, the NBA chairman, that's the Mazio Sigwe, talked about the judiciary, and many persons raising concerns with him that is becoming, unfortunately, more like a cash and carry kind of judiciary. And when somebody in the stature of the NBA national president speaks, then one would think it shouldn't be frivolous with words, it shouldn't be garrulous, he should speak with fact because he occupies an exalted position. And so when he makes his point about the bar on the bench, especially that belief, that doubt about the sanctity of whatever comes from our courts, making it to look like the highest bidder always have today, it should be a thing of concern. But it will be at the National Assembly, Tanko Yusuf, Aisha Yusufu, the obedient guys joined, other people to drum home that there should be constitutional backing for electronic transmission of results.
Yeah. All right. And that's what we've been pushing as well right here, that if we're going to have reforms, let's have reforms around the lines of importance and necessity. And we're still talking about e-transmission and all of those at this time. This is not where we want to be. We've talked about this. The Constitution already has, real-time transmission. Now, taking us steps back, taking us years back in our electoral, reform and all of those, it's not a good thing. It's not good for our democracy, and it just feels like our democracy is merry-go-rounding on the same issues. And when not on the same issues, when we're not merry-go-rounding, we're going steps back. We need forward movement. We want to, be at par, if not ahead, but at par with other nations. Especially, there are several nations in Africa who have better democratic processes and election processes. And so that's what we're pushing for in Nigeria. Nigeria need not be here. We want to move ahead, and that's what is talk. So this talk about the e-transmission thing and giving it real time, and the things that bulk of the work falls on INEC and our lawmakers and the government to work hand in hand and find ways, to have to make this real-time transmission workable for the people of the nation. There is a lot of distrust. There is a lot of gap between the people and the electoral process in Nigeria. Loss of faith, voter apathy, a lot of those things. And if we remove this real-time clause from this, then you know that the people would be, further the gusto, the enthusiasm will be further dampened. That's not where we want to be.
Right.
We just want to move forward.
We'll look into that in the course of the program today. Up next is the newspaper segment. Stay with us. All right, the newspaper segment is next. Let's start from the front page. The Guardian. The Guardian, nurtured by truth. Fresh killings, abductions, heightened security fears amid drone attacks. Fresh killings, abductions, heightened security fears amid drone attacks. Well, one will not be able to exhaust this as far as it's not even reducing. It's becoming more and more emboldened. These guys are just running riots like a state without a state, actually. All right, below that you have the protest at the National Assembly, inserts, the pictures having P2B, organized labor, some other persons, the security personnel. All right, and below that, Senate to harmonize Electoral Act today amid protest over real-time transmission. Senate to harmonize Electoral Act today amid protest over real-time transmission. And residents protest as terrorists abduct 7 in Kaduna. What? Why we are still talking about the casino and Kwara? The thing is still going on. And one can easily say that for every one abduction case reported, you can be sure that there is at least another one not reported. That possibly families will say, shh, let's do whatever we can do. Because that goes, there are people that will not report to the police out of panic, out of the fact that, is this what you want? We'll give it to you. Give us our person, everybody, hush. So you can easily say that for every one case of abduction reported, at least there is another one not reported. So meaning it's worse than we are seeing, except you just want to be hiding behind a finger, figuratively speaking, as they usually say. It's not the best of times right now. NAS, NERC seek judiciary's aid for grid power sector's stability. And Natasha loses suspension appeal as court quashes 5 million naira contempt fine. The court upheld her suspension, saying the Senate has a right, to conduct its affairs and to wield the big sticks in as much as in the business and during the business of the Senate. That's what the court said. All right, Nigeria's internet speed sleeps, ranks 85th globally. Internet speed sleeps, ranks 85th globally. Those are some of the considerations that some want to consider as well, and say you are pushing for electronic transmission where the internet speed is, disappointing, just to be polite. Now, here, top strip, fresh borrowings loom as 2026 budget faces 25.27 trillion naira deficit. Well,
exactly what
fresh borrowings looms as 2026 budget faces 25.27 trillion naira deficit.
Now we're budgeting way beyond what we can offer. Some of these borrowings, we keep asking, what are they for exactly? I know that they would have some things to tie these borrowings to, but this is internet not doing well. Security is failing by the day, and we say we have sophisticated weapons. So you have sophisticated weapons, you can finger some of the people, who are financing, because severally we've talked about raising or speaking up, listing the names of these financiers. We've not been able to get that, but that's not where I'm going. We have security issues. We do not know if we do not have weapons. You said it severally, we have weapons. We don't know why we're not seeing gains. So the internet is not doing well. The energy is not doing well, because this is another report here where NAS is now seeking the judiciary to help, in in getting power stability, how that is the court's business, I do not understand. So we cannot get our security right. We cannot get power right. No, we cannot get health right. And then this is the internet. We can't get that right too. And we keep borrowing. For what exactly? Well, these are the major things holding a community. The security of lives, protection, health, well, all of this, even housing, we can't get it right. Exactly what are we borrowing for? And here, you're still going to get there. Yeah. Where Shetima is saying that GDP should not be the only thing. It's no longer enough to measure. Okay, so by what indices are we going to measure our economic strength or stability now?
We'll get there, just like you said.
We don't know all these things.
So this is about the budget, actually. All of those indices you have put forth is arrived, right? But then when budgets are prepared, generally, there is, especially in some peculiar situations, even in countries of the world, you talk about the budget. That's when MDAs of the government, everybody have, put in their stuff. The government comes with a harmonized budget. The presentation is done. The parliament will work on it and all of those things. So they come to a particular figure. Okay, so you have revenue and expenditure. So for a 50 trillion naira, budget right now, then you make a projection. How much are we going to generate to fund this particular budget? Let's say 15 trillion naira, okay? Maybe you might want to say we can generate 50% or 60% of that budget. Okay, that's like 30 trillion naira. And so, through what? Then they will ask you, baseline will be what? In Nigeria, we use the dollar. Okay, is it 1,400 naira? We use the oil. At how much? $700, dollars per barrel on all of those things. So those are the indices. So how about if you are going to generate 30 trillion naira revenue? So what happens to the 20 trillion naira? That's what's called deficit. So this deficit, so how is it going to be funded?
Borrowing.
Borrowings, grants, donations. I mean, not just as a nation alone. There are MDAs of the, is the subtotal that come to the total. So borrowing, 20 trillion naira. Okay.
Because
can
even
we afford it? What's the GDP to debt ratio and all of those things? But the thing is, this is even February, right? And Nigerians are even confused. Is it the 2024 budget? Is it 25? Now, in this case, it's talking about 2026 budget. Deficit, it's always there. The projections are always there. I've never seen any place that they will say, oh, we need 50 trillion as a budget, or we are making 50 trillion as a budget, and then our revenue will generate 50 trillion. There will always be that deficit spending. But how are you going to get it? To what end? And just like you said, some of those things that we are borrowed for in the past, is it evident? Can we show that there is value for money? So these are some of the questions that need to be answered. And that is why we always go back to that question I asked earlier in the year, or during December, when the presentation was being done. There is no way we can ever get it right. And I don't dare anybody without asking for budget performance. You can't be coming with a budget for a new year without me asking you, what did you do with the budget in the previous year? So it's not just by the moment the president comes, on your mandate you shall stand, everybody loses their upstairs, and then, okay, Oga is dropping this thing. You even see the camaraderie, you see the senators are in awe, psychophancy, everybody, the president is here. You can't even ask him questions. You came with a 40 trillion naira budget last year. What have you done with it, actually? And every parliamentarian would be in that hall. Everybody, that's what is called State of the Union address in the US. It might not be really about budget, but that is where everybody comes to question you on security. How much did you ask for? How much was released? What have you used it on? And it's a real serious business. But in Nigeria, the moment the president makes his way into the National Assembly, on your mandate everywhere. So no serious business of the state is being done. And so if you have not done well, quote and unquote, in 2023 with the budget, 2024, give me another money. 2025, give me another money. In 2026,
they don't even retire the previous budget.
That's the budget
all the time
performance I was talking about. How can I give my child or my household, we need something in this house, and then possibly my spouse comes to say it will take us 1 million naira. Okay, that's nice. Is that what you are going to use for this week? Fine. And then she comes again, or anybody in the house, or my staff members, and say, I want to have this. And I'm not asking you, okay, that's good. Where are we with the money you collected? And okay, you are just coming to collect and collect and collect. Everybody will not take it serious. It's as simple as that.
And the nations of the world that we're comparing, ourselves to, these people have education working to a part. They have health working to at least a point. They have agriculture churning in products, and produce and all of those things. Things are working. Security is fine up to an extent. If there is an uprising, they nip it in the bud immediately. And this is where we are, decades after decades, still grappling with the same thing we've been talking about in 3 previous administrations or 2 previous administrations, and we're still here.
Well,
and it's even getting worse.
We're even talking about the national level. Do you know worse things happen at the state level? And I think that's, for me this year, my searchlight will be more about what happens at the state level. Yeah. Do you know what happens at the state? You don't want to know at all, because that one is even next to nothing. Most of the House of Assembly members, with due respect to them, it will be clear for me to say prodigies. They are lackeys.
With the way Nigeria is run,
Abuja.
Much of the spotlight is on the federal. And that's why they put a lot of things on the federal. Revenue flows down from them. All of these things slow down. Orders come down from them. So the they want the spotlight. We'll give it. We'll put it on them.
Well,
so when more powers are devolved around to the subnational, we put our spotlight there.
Well, permit me to put my own searchlight on the state, because I know a particular state that there was a rumor of somebody buying photocopier for 206 million. Okay. Just take your time for the next 2 weeks. Go through the budget of the state. You will.
Or is it about the other
between
governor?
Crying and laughing, you find yourself.
Or is it about the governor who is budgeting billion for, is it mortuary now or?
Now you are talking.
Yeah.
That's in Zamfara State. So you're talking about Abuja alone. All of them will be on
so lots of budgets.
GDP figures no longer enough to measure progress, says Shatima. Well, let's check the details. That'll be all from The Guardian.
All right, we move now to Nigerian Tribune newspaper. The banner headline is the same. Electoral Act, Obi, CSOs, others protest at NAS. All right, the riders demand real-time transmission of election results, 360 days notice of election. And right here, to extend protests to 36 states, houses of assembly, SMBLF, NGE, and Bakoba. All right, Uchomi Baraje Flay Senate. And right here, all eyes on Senate as lawmakers reconvene plenary. I mean, if we're still talking about e-transmission, when do we get to the point where we say, and really, enshrine that into our constitution, where we say that all of this, whatever judicial issue, whatever, all of these issues and uprisings after election, all of those things, all the court cases and all of this should be, settled before there is a swearing in of this. When are we going to get to that part in this election reform process? So that is another. All right. Appeal Court upholds Natasha's suspension, says Senate acted within its powers. And right there on health, dermatologist warned of rising complications from skin bleaching and says cites cancer, organ damage risks. And those are the risks attached to that. Just below the nameplate above that banner headline, federal government begins implementation of 40% pay agreement with ASO, others compliance. We are determined to win war against terrorism, Tinubu tells governors. Or your princes seek court order to restrict Alaafin from public engagement. Or your princes seek court order to restrict Alaafin from public engagement. And we can see that picture right there of the commander, U.S. Africa Command, General Dargen Anderson. Right there, flanked by the National Security Advisor, Malam Nur Ribado, and the Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa during a visit by General Anderson to the NSA in Abuja on Monday, right there. Right above the nameplate and to the top strip, Tinubu holds fresh peace talks with Fubara, Wike, and the rider here says lawmakers may back down on impeachment process. IMF multilaterals, GDP projections achievable but disconnected from everyday living. IMF multilaterals GDP projections achievable but disconnected from everyday living. That's according to experts. You can find that story on page 5. Those are the headlines right there on Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning.
Let's quickly check the Daily Trust with these big bold headline: Electoral Bill, Senate reconvenes amid mounting pressure. Electoral Bill, Senate reconvenes amid mounting pressure. That's what we have for you from the Daily Trust.
All right, moving now quickly to the Punch newspaper this morning, and it says here, Senate reconvenes today as Electoral Act triggers uproar. Senate reconvenes today as Electoral Act triggers uproar, and the riders, Obi joins NAS protesters. Coker demands review. Anger mounts over controversial amendment. And right here, Akpabio leads tense emergency session. Below that, Oyo princes launch court fight to preserve Alaafin's supremacy. Oyo princes launch court fight to preserve Alaafin's supremacy. President vows to replace open grazing with ranching reforms. Right there, until the bottom strip there. Over 75 million Nigerians face retirement without pensions. Over 75 million Nigerians face retirement without pensions. That's coming from PENCAM. Again, U.S. to deport 18 Nigerians on criminal list. CBN NCC prepares instant refunds for failed airtime data. And right there beside the nameplate, banditry crisis. Federal government rejects Northern Governor's call to suspend mining. Banditry crisis. Federal government rejects Northern Governor's call to suspend mining. And those are the headlines right there making the face of the Punch newspaper this morning.
A quick one from the front page of the Nation for today. A big, bold headline again. Tinubu, we will defeat these unacceptable terrorism banditry. Tinubu, we will defeat these unacceptable terrorism banditry with a rider. State councils to play a big role in Renewed Hope National Development Plan 2026 to 2030. Okay, and of course there is a picture attached to that of the president and his vice, Shatima, and a quote to that effect as well: sustaining domestic consensus and intergovernmental cooperation is vital to achieving our long-term economic ambitions. And below that, you have the picture of the Senate President, Kasula Pabio, the Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibrin, with other persons in this particular picture, talking about Mr. Matthew Donlaha at public presentation of his book. Now, away from that, Defense Headquarters activates Operation Savannah Shield in Kwara. The HQ activates Operation Savannah Shield in Kwara. GOC on operational assessment visit. General Officer Commanding on operational assessment. This is coming from the Defense Headquarters. Operation Savannah Shield, whatever will work, please let it work and let it be sustained. Bottom strip, Fubara may submit commissioners list following Aso Villa talks. We understand the president is wading into the matter again. And at this point, I think Minister Wike and Governor Fubara possibly should have it as the back of their mind that it seems Nigerians are moving on from their matter. If possibly they think Nigerians are still, well, why will we not take our eyes away from a working nation with a working democracy? That state is bigger than the two of them. But whatever has come from River State has been reduced to just these two individuals. And I usually say, you remember, when was the last you asked something about education? something
Any
substantial.
development,
Manufacturing, you know, even sport. I remember Port Harcourt used to be the host, you know, that stadium there used to be the host stadium for the Super Eagles like 20 years ago, actually. But it's just there. They are just there. But the point is, they should know that possibly Nigerians are moving on from their matter if this is what they want to reduce the state to. And one day history will write what he wants about them. It might be in the next 50, 60, 100 years that there used to be a certain Wiki and a certain Fubara and a certain Tinubu and a certain Femi and Tope. That is what history will do to us all. All right, here, NAFDAC seizes fake malaria drugs worth 3 billion. That's a double jeopardy, you know. When you're having malaria and you are not even using something fake on that. I remember a popular musician, like more than 10 years ago, died just because of this fake product as well. And that's why people engaging in fake product, you know, they are not just another criminal. They are killers, actually. Either it's a fake socket, electronic, whatever, wires you are buying, you are not just a criminal. You are a killer, potential killer. That's who you are. Let's be very careful, especially people who buy at roadsides. Even if you buy at stores, check there. Do you know there is another menace of expiry date? Actually, I've had instances in which I got to buy, especially these, you know, carbonated drinks. And the moment, you know, there is a way you hold some of it and you just know that something is wrong. Either with the color or you open it and you didn't hear that that gaseous sound. You just know that something is wrong. And then you check the body, you see, oh, it expired last week. And some person, right? I don't know if it's ignorance or just wickedness. You are told, in the way they will say it around here, she be last week, meaning it just got expired. And these days, they don't even use expired, they use best before. Actually, meaning the best time of using that thing has passed. And what you are consuming, you should do better as a people. New pay for varsity teachers takes off in line with New Deal. U.S. intervention in Nigeria insecurity, a blessing, says First Lady. All right, First Lady and U.S., we hope these romance will continue for a long time. Cardoso, foreign reserves now $49. Take that again, $49 billion. For talking about foreign reserves. Appeal court affirms Senate's power to suspend Natasha, and protesting obedience supporters demand a real-time result transmission. By the way, that will be our next point of conversation, and of course, a convenient point for us to anchor on the newspaper segment. We take this quick break. When we return, we speak to these issues: to be or not to be, constitutional backing for real-time transmission of electoral results. Your take. That will be after now.